Good morning, everybody. We are in the Gospel of Matthew, and we are doing our daily bread. Yeah. Revival Church Daily Bread, Monday through Saturday, 7:30 a.m. And I thought as we kick off the Gospel of Matthew, I was thinking, what greater thing to excite a group of Bible-loving people other than to study a genealogy? Okay, it's kind of silly, but hey, quick reminder, since this is the first time I've been on the church page instead of my own profile for a long time, little button in the top corner if you want to get notifications so that you can be reminded to come join us every morning, you should do that. All this said, let's check out the Gospel of Matthew, or maybe I should even just start really quickly with the Gospel. What's the Gospel of Matthew? Well, so the Gospel of Matthew was written around 60 AD. It's written by Matthew, the tax collector, also known as Levi. And yeah, I could give you a huge introduction. No need to. But Matthew would be the gospel of Jesus Christ in the perspective of Jesus the King. If you look at the four gospels, there is Jesus the Messiah King in Matthew, the suffering servant in Mark, the Son of Man in Luke, and the Son of God in John. And they each give a different angle of Jesus Christ. And we'll see, even in this genealogy this morning, that Matthew is emphasizing that he is the Messiah, that he is the King of the Jews, and he quotes more Old Testament scripture than any of the gospel writers, because he is trying to show the Jewish people that this was our Messiah and our King. And so he's using the scriptures in order to prove that point. So, chapter 1, verse 1, the book of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac, Isaac begot Jacob, Jacob begot Judah and his brothers. Judah begot Perez and Zerah by Tamar. Perez begot Hezron, and Hezron begot Ram. Ram begot Amminadab, Amminadab begot Nahshon. Nahshon begot Salmon. Verse 5, Salmon begot Boaz by Rahab. Boaz begot Obed by Ruth. Obed begot Jesse, and Jesse begot David the king. David the king begot Solomon by her who had been the wife of Uriah. Solomon begot Rehoboam. Rehoboam begot Abijah. Abijah begot Asa. Asa to Josaphat. Josaphat to Joram. Joram to Uzziah. Uzziah to Jotham. Jotham to Ahaz. Ahaz to Hezekiah. Hezekiah to Manasseh. Manasseh to Ammon. Ammon to Josiah. Josiah to Jeconiah. Verse 11, and his brothers, about the time they were carried away to Babylon. Verse 12, and after they were brought to Babylon, Jeconiah begot Shealtiel. Shealtiel begot Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel Abuid. Abuid to Eliakim. Eliakim to Azar. Azar to Zadok. Zadok to Achim. Achim to Eliud. Eliud to Eleazar. Eliud to Matan. And Matan to Jacob. And Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, who is called the Christ. So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations. From David until the captivity in Babylon are 14 generations. And from the captivity in Babylon until the Christ are 14 generations. So, there we go. Now, in this list, there's actually a lot of fascinating information. And it's stuff that you wouldn't pick up unless you did a little bit of your own studying time. I think a few things worth noting. One, this is the genealogy of Jesus Christ through Joseph. Most believe that Luke is giving, and remember, what was the emphasis of Luke? Jesus Christ, the Son of Man. He was emphasizing Jesus's humanity. Therefore, he does a genealogy not to Abraham to establish his right to the throne, to the right of the covenant promises of Israel, but Luke goes through Mary to Adam, and Mary was his earthly mother. And it shows that he is a man, and that you have a tie from the first Adam to the last Adam, where Matthew Matthew's trying to establish his kingship, his messiahship, and that he's the heir to the throne. So he goes to Abraham, the father of the promises, all the way down. And here's the catch. In verse 12, if you're a note taker, you might want to underline it. Jeconiah. Jeconiah in Jeremiah 22 is cursed. No one from his bloodline shall reign as king. Now, we run into some problems because there's a curse on his bloodline, but it's also the kingly line. And yet, if we take us all the way down to Joseph, Joseph's heir, his firstborn son, as is clearly stated here in the verse 25 for the future, that's the heir, Jesus. Jesus would be heir to the throne because he's part of the kingly line, but he doesn't share Joseph's blood, and the curse has no effect on him. So therefore, Jesus is eligible to be king of the Jews and not under the curse of Jeconiah. There's other stuff in here too. Now, if you want to go by the works of the Russian, what is a numetician or whatever, guy who studies numbers a lot, Ivan Panin. This guy, he died like 80 years ago, but he was into numbers. And so he studied all this genealogy. Now, let's just say this much. If you go into all of the studying of the heptadic structure, hept being 7, there's a combination of all these names that has an odd familiarity or whatnot with the number 7. Now, the idea is this. If I said, come up with a list of 7 people's names, and then I tell you, okay, but now, all of the people's names, if you took all the consonants of all their names and added it up, it had to be divisible by 7. And then all the vowels also had to be divisible by 7. Oh, and the total number of letters in the 7 people's names had to be divisible by 7. Oh, and you just keep going. It'd be almost impossible. Let me read to you. This is just a partial breakdown of verses 1 to 11. Okay? I'm not even going to do all the verses. Okay, there's 14 generations in verses 1 to 11. 7 times 2. There's 49 Greek vocab words, excluding Hebrew names. 7 times 7. Of those vocab words, 28 begin with a vowel. That's 7 times 4. And 21 with a consonant. 27 times 3. Making up the names in these in this section, there is 266 letters. 7 times 38. Also broken down evenly as 140 vowels, 7 times 20, and 126 consonants, 7 times 18. 35 of the words in these 11 verses are used more than once, 7 times 5. And there's 14 words that are used only one time, 7 times 2. 7 words are used in more than one form, so sometimes you could have like variations of the same word. And then the 3 women mentioned, there's 14 letters that makes up their names, 7 times 2. There's 1 city mentioned, Babylon. It's made up of 7 letters. And it keeps going where it's like, and then if you could do the gematria, where it's like in Greek, every letter is a number. That's how their numbers work. They didn't have Arabic numbers like us. We have Arabic numbers. That's the 1, 2, 3, 4 you're used to is Arabic. They had letters meant numbers. And so you could literally have your name and then each thing was a number. You could add it up. And if you add up all the numbers, it's divisible by 7. And it's like some huge number, and it's all the vowels are divisible by 7. And so he just goes to show that mathematically, if you tried to make your own genealogy of Matthew, it'd be almost impossible for a human to sit down and come up with a list with all of these coincidental 7s in it. So it just shows a little bit about the divine author. And then we've got just some of the people in the list. I'm not covering everything that we could possibly have in this genealogy, but if you look at the women in the list, now finding women in a genealogy of birthright was not a normal thing. It's usually father to son, passing down the rights of whatnot. And we've got Tamar. Well, Tamar slept with her father-in-law by pretending to be a prostitute. And so here's an interesting woman to be used in the list. Rahab married Boaz, and Rahab was a legitimate prostitute. And she ends up, Salmon. They had their son Boaz. So we've got Salmon and Rahab. Now, she was a prostitute, and Salmon was actually kind of a prince. He was one of the heads of the tribes. At the time, he was the head, the leading man of the tribe. And so that's kind of a cool thing and a redemptive story. And of course, they have their son Boaz, and Boaz marries Ruth, who is a Moabite. Moabites weren't supposed to be part of Israel. They were supposed to be rejected and kicked out. But she gets redeemed and brought in. And then they have Jesse, and then they have David. And then we see David, who has his son Solomon through Uriah's wife, Bathsheba. And so as we go down the list, there's all these women, and they get mentioned for particular reasons. And part of it is because we just see God redeeming people. We see God taking prostitutes. We see God taking outsiders that were supposed to be rejected. We see God taking situations like adultery and watching it get redeemed. And so that's the beautiful part as we go through the Bible, is all these stories of redemption where God takes people who are unqualified or who are in sin and in rebellion, and he wins them over and he works them into his plan to be part of the birth of the Messiah. And so that's the beautiful thing as we read, that God always has a way, God has a plan, and God can work and does work all things to the good for those who love him and are called according to the purpose. So, hey, love God, trust him, and he will take your crazy situations and work them out for the good too. So, there you guys go. Once again, reminder, little dots up there for notifications. Monday through Saturday, I'll be up at 7:30 doing this with you guys. And we'll probably need to invite or share some of our regulars who maybe didn't get the memo that we were going to be doing it on the church page. So, share it out today and invite them or tag them or something so we get all of our friends in one place. All right, you guys take care, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. I'm just waiting for the lag, I'm going to stop here any second. Really close now. Okay, here we go. People keep hitting the heart button. It just, builds my ego, makes me want to just keep watching. There's another one. Man, they love me. Okay, I'm going to go now.